When the extreme heat apocalypse arrived, I had fully stocked up on supplies, hiding in a deep mountain villa, growing vegetables, and feeding my cat. Meanwhile, my husband's family, who killed me in my past life, was struggling to survive in the scorching heat. The front door was kicked open. My husband, Chun Kai, suddenly barged in with my parents-in-law. Standing next to them were a woman and a child. My mother-in-law pointed at the boy, her chin raised high. "This is the true root of our Chun family. Lin Wan, you're just a money-losing burden. You can't even give birth to a son." I was trembling with anger, and I rushed forward to demand an explanation. Unexpectedly, my mother-in-law lifted a bucket and splashed gasoline all over me. My father-in-law pulled out a lighter, and with a click, ignited it. He said viciously, "As long as you are dead, all the family property will belong to Chun Kai." I struggled, wanting to fight them to the death, but the surging flames instantly engulfed me. I stared dead straight into Chun Kai's cold face. He didn't even blink. A bone-chilling hatred. "I am not resigned to this. I won't accept this." I suddenly opened my eyes, the bone-deep, burning pain still lingering on my body. I was gasping heavily for air, my eyes sweeping across the familiar bedroom and finally landing on the calendar by the bed. August 27th, 2030, 1-1. "What's wrong with you?" Chun Kai's voice came from the doorway. "Nothing, just had a nightmare." I had only one thought in my mind. I had been reborn. Reborn exactly apocalypse. I will never let myself be slaughtered again. Plotting to steal my wealth. Keep dreaming. Chun Kai walked to the bedside, speaking with a concerned tone. "Why is your face so red? Were you frightened by the nightmare?" Seeing that I ignored him, a flash of impatience crossed his face. He used to be very good at acting. If I hadn't experienced my past life, I would never have noticed it. His tone remained gentle. "Have you still not recovered? Then I won't bother you. I'm heading to the company first." I didn't answer. Only when the bedroom door clicked and shut completely. Immediately, a private detective I had worked with before, Old Joe. I sent him the photos of Chun Kai and Liu Yi and instructed Brother Joe, "Please help me investigate where they are living right now and whether there are any asset transfer activities. The more detailed, the better. Money is not an issue." Old Joe was very reliable in this line of work. He replied quickly, "Don't worry, I'll give you the results within 3 days." Next, I dug out the information from my saved items about that mountaintop orchard. In my previous life, when Chun Kai and I went to the suburbs to escape the heat, we happened to pass by there. It was a 3-story of over 100 square meters, sitting all alone on the mountaintop, surrounded by vast fields of apple and peach trees. At the foot of the mountain, there was a small creek with crystal clear water. At that time, I even smiled and told Chun Kai, "When we get old, let's find a place like this to live, picking fruits every day and going fishing. How comfortable would that be?" Chun Kai immediately picked up the conversation, saying he knew the seller of the orchard. If première like dit. He could buy it for a cheaper price. Thinking back now, he probably already had the idea of leaving this place to Liu Yi and her son back then. I didn't hesitate and directly called the seller of the orchard. The old man on the other end of the phone sounded a bit hesitant. "Miss, I do want to sell this orchard, but the price isn't low and the property transfer procedures take time. Sir, you name the price. I'll pay in full upfront, as long as you can finish the transfer procedures within 3 days. I will add an extra 50,000 yuan as a bonus." I interrupted his words. "Miton firme." The old man was clearly stunned for a moment, then readily agreed. "All right. I will contact the real estate agent right away. We'll go handle the paperwork tomorrow. After hanging up with the orchard seller, my tense nerves finally relaxed a little. Arriving at the company, the first thing I did was to gather all the important documents. Property deeds, bank cards, company, equity, certificates, and various contracts. I locked them all into the safe in my office. Then, I called in the finance director, Sister Lee. She is a veteran employee, reliable and loyal. Sister Lee, starting from today, no matter what excuse Chun Kai uses to ask for money, or to ask you to make a transfer, even if it's just 1,000 yuan, you must call me first to confirm. Absolutely do not transfer anything to him privately, I said seriously. Sister Lee was taken aback for a second. Nodded. Don't worry, Boss Lin. I understand. He actually asked me for 100,000 yuan yesterday, saying he wanted to invest in a friend's project. I didn't dare to make the transfer. I was just planning to tell you, Mir-sank. Just as I thought, he couldn't wait any longer and had already started transferring assets. At 3 p.m., old Joe sent a message, attached with a stack of photos and a video. In the video, Chun Kai and Liu Yi, holding Chun Lala's hand, walked into another building in our residential compound. My mother-in-law and father-in-law followed behind, carrying bags of snacks and toys. They looked just like a perfect, happy family. Old Joe said, Miss Lin, Chun Kai is hiding Liu Yi, her son, and his parents in Unit 1, Building 3 of your compound. Apartment 502 was rented under Liu Yi's name. The rent is 8,000 yuan per month, and it's being deducted from your credit card. I clenched my fists, my knuckles turning white from the force. In my past life, I was coming home late. No première canu. He was busy raising a mistress and an illegitimate son. Over the next few days, I handled company affairs on one hand, and remotely supervised the orchard's construction progress on the other. I hired 3 construction crews, working in shifts 24 hours a day. I demanded that they must complete all renovations within 10 days. First was the thermal insulation of the house. I had them knock down all the original wall tiles and replace them with the newest thermal insulation materials. These materials could block out more than 90% of the heat. Even if the outside temperature reached 60 degrees Celsius, indoor temperature would remain below 30 degrees. Next were the windows. All were replaced with bulletproof glass, and 3 layers of heat-insulating film were applied inside and out, on the roof and the open ground of the orchard. I had the crew install a total of 50 solar panels, paired with the high-capacity storage batteries. Still feeling uneasy, I ordered a diesel generator, and specifically found a well-ventilated small room to store diesel fuel. The room was equipped with smoke detectors and fire extinguishers, ensuring foolproof fire safety measures. With 10 days left before the extreme heat arrived, I rented a 20-ton cargo truck and headed straight to the city's largest agricultural wholesale market. Holding a list I had prepared long ago, I bought items shop by shop. Boss, I need 50 bags of rice. I want the vacuum-sealed ones, with a long shelf life. Instant noodles, 5 different flavors, 20 boxes of each, 50 jugs of cooking oil, and 50 of every kind of canned food. The boss looked at the list in my hand, his eyes wide open. Miss, are you opening a supermarket? I smiled and said, no. I opened a farmstay back in my hometown. There are a lot of tourists in the summer, so I need to stock up extra. The boss didn't ask further, and quickly called his workers to help load the goods. Besides staple foods, I also bought a massive amount of drinking water. I bought 500 cases of 500 milliliters bottled mineral water and 10 water purifiers. Just in case the drinking water ran out later, I could still filter rainwater or stream water. Then I bought toilet paper and enough sanitary pads to last for 2 years. The entire truck was packed full. Next was the pharmacy. I went straight to the pharmacy manager, handed him the list. Manager Wong, give me the maximum for all the medicines on this list. The list included fever reducers, antibiotics, painkillers, called Medis, Trice, iodine, alcohol. Manager Wong glanced at the list without asking much and quickly instructed the clerks to pack the medicines. It filled up to large boxes. Finally, I went to the fresh meat market. I found a butcher I had collaborated with before and directly ordered 10 pigs, 10 sheep, 3 cows, and 100 chickens. The boss smiled and said, "Boss Lin, are you hosting a massive banquet?" "Pretty much. It's for the company's annual party," I replied with a smile. By the time I returned to the orchard, it was already past 8 p.m. The construction crews had left around noon. The cellar had been successfully converted into a cold storage room. As soon as the cooling unit was turned on, the temperature inside instantly dropped to -10 degrees. It was so cold that I shivered. I moved all the raw meat I bought during the day into the cold room, organizing them by sections. Pork section, mutton section, beef section, chicken section, and a seafood section. I put labels on each section for easy access later. In the utility room on the first floor, I stacked charcoal, firewood, and bottled water. In case the water supply was cut off, water could serve as an emergency backup. The storage room on the second floor held grains, oil, canned food, and daily necessities. The walls had received special thermal treatment, which, combined with 2 air conditioners, could maintain the temperature at around 28 degrees. So I didn't have to worry about the food spoiling. When everything was finally sorted out, I lay on the bed and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, I made my first meal in the villa. A sandwich and coffee. After eating, I filled the fish pond in the first floor courtyard with water, preparing to raise some highly resilient fish, like tilapia and similar species. If the extreme heat persisted, I would still have fresh fish to eat. In a corner of the courtyard, I cleared a small vegetable plot, ready to plant tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, eggplants, and other heat-resistant vegetables. During this time, Chun Kai called me several times. Every time, he impatiently asked where I was and why I hadn't come home. I either told him I was working overtime at the company, that I was out of town inspecting a project. Not long after, Chun Kai called again. This time, he used an unknown number, his tone filled with suppressed anger. Wan, where the hell are you? Lin Wan, why weren't you answering my calls? I need money. Transfer it to me, immediately. Première snirade. Need money? You're raising a mistress outside, and even have an 8-year-old son. Why don't you ask them for money? Chun Kai, I'm telling you, not only will I leave you with absolutely nothing, I will also demand back every single cent you spent on Liu Yi. I want it all back. After saying that, I hung up directly and blocked this number too. I opened an app on my phone. Earlier, I had old Joe's men disguise themselves as repairmen and install a hidden camera in Liu Yi's rented apartment. In the surveillance footage, after Chun Kai realized I found out about Liu Yi, he immediately gathered everyone in the living room for a discussing how to deal with me. After much discussion, it all came down to getting rid of me before the divorce. My mother-in-law had a vicious look in her eyes, her expression twisted. Why don't I be the one to do it? I'm old anyway. If I trade my life, it'll be worth it. In my previous life, She made the move. And my father-in-law assisted, pouring gasoline first, then lighting the fire, costing me my life. But in this life, they won't be able to find me. I had already notified everyone around me to block all his contact information, with 5 days left until the extreme heat. Old Joe sent me a video. In the video, in a corner of a park, Liu Yi was hugging another man, laughing and playing around, looking extremely intimate. I watched with great amusement, when suddenly a thought struck me. Could it be that the boy isn't Chun Kai's son at all? Old Joe sent another message. I've already sent the child's and Chun Kai's DNA samples for a paternity test. We should have the results by tomorrow to see if that child is truly Chun Kai's biological son. I transferred 50,000 yuan to old Joe, plus en extra to envelope. And at the same time, reminded him to stock up on supplies. The next day, I went into the city again. This time, primarily, to buy some fish fry, vegetable seeds, and snacks. First, I went to the supermarket for vegetable seeds, chocolates, candies, potato chips, and biscuits. I bought dozens of bags of ice cream in various flavors. I also bought boxes of ready-to-eat meals, like braised pork ribs, pork with preserved vegetables, and steamed fish, which just needed heating to be eaten. Next, I went to the seafood market and bought tilapia, crayfish, scallops, octopuses, crabs, etc. Part of them I froze, and the rest I raised in the pond. On the way back, I passed by a pet store. I went in and bought a kitten along with some pet supplies. I named it Mimi. This way, I'd have some company in the apocalypse. Returning to the orchard that night, I lay on my recliner, with Mimi curled up on my lap, looking out at the starry sky through the window. For the first time, I felt that rebirth was wonderful. No longer having to suffer for unworthy people. No longer having to worry about being plotted against, just living well. That is the greatest happiness. With 2 days left until the extreme heat, I was planting seeds in the vegetable garden when old Joe sent me the paternity test report. That child was indeed not Chun Kai's. But surprisingly, not the man's in the park either. However, whose child it was didn't matter anymore. I settled all the final payments with old Joe and told him he could conclude his work. Through the surveillance, I saw Chun Kai still searching everywhere for me. But he couldn't find me. I really wanted to see Chun Kai's face when he learned the truth. But letting him know now would be letting him off too easily. I have to wait until they are trapped like beasts to deal them the final blow. After finishing planting, I carefully took inventory. The grains and oil inside were well stocked. The medicines were ready. The water and purifiers were all prepared. And the daily necessities and sanitary pads were settled. The only thing missing was something for self-defense. In the apocalypse, people will be panicking. And no one can say for sure if someone will target me. In the afternoon, I drove my car to the city again and bought some machetes and electric stun batons. Passing by that 5-star hotel in the city center, I stopped the car, planning to treat myself properly. As soon as I walked in, a waiter smilingly guided me to a seat by the window. Innombrable ivory dishes, wagyu steak, mint deep fried shrimp, braised sea bass with black truffle, bon serré de foie gras, matzutake chicken soup, and a rich, thick pot of Buddha jumps over the wall. After thoroughly enjoying the delicious meal, I drove back to the orchard. On the day the extreme heat officially arrived, the air conditioner in the orchard villa showed 26 degrees, but the temperature outside had already skyrocketed to 68 degrees. I turned on the surveillance camera, watching the miserable state of Chun Kai's family. they hadn't found me. So they were trapped in that cramped rental apartment. The air conditioner had long stopped working, and the wind blowing from the electric fan was hot. My mother-in-law sat on the floor, fanning herself, cursing constantly. What damn weather is this? Why hasn't the AC been fixed yet? Chun Kai was frantically making phone calls on the side. Calling the property management 1 minute and calling repairmen the next. But either no one answered, or, when connected, they'd hang up immediately upon hearing the address. With temperatures so high, who would risk their lives to come out and fix an AC? The outside temperature was still rising continuously. The TV news announced, starting today, the extreme heatwave will persist. Outdoor temperatures have exceeded human tolerance limits. Citizens are to immediately evacuate to the nearest underground parking lots or air raid shelters. Temporary aid stations have been set up there, providing drinking water, food, and cooling equipment to ensure the safety of citizens' lives. But Chun Kai and his family didn't take it seriously at all. The mother-in-law said disdainfully, "These people are making a fuss over nothing. How bad could it be? Once it cools down in a couple of days, life will go back to normal." Liu Yi also agreed. "Exactly, as long as we stay indoors and drink plenty of water, we'll be fine." Binon. The outdoor temperature shown on the phone had already broken past 75 degrees Celsius. Scrolling through netizens' live streams, the asphalt roads in the footage had melted into a black liquid. The leaves of the trees by the road were scorched yellow. When a gust of wind blew, the leaves scattered like shredded paper. Occasionally, a few people who couldn't make it to the shelters in time would struggle by the roadside for a bit before collapsing, never to get up again. I turned on the surveillance. My mother-in-law was lying spread eagle on the floor, her mouth still cursing, "Lin Wan, that bitch. She'd better die outside." Chun Kai and Liu Yi were sitting on the sofa, while my father-in-law was fanning himself non-stop, yet still sweating profusely. I took out his spare phone and found Chun Kai's WeChat. I had blocked him before, but now I added him back. He accepted the friend request very quickly. I didn't waste breath on him. I directly sent the video Yi hugging that strange man in the park. Immediately after, I sent the photo of the paternity test report too. Then, I instantly blocked him again, giving him no chance to argue or explain. Chun Kai clicked on the video. His phone's volume was very loud. Liu Yi's unbearable, flirtatious voice echoed in the small room. Sounding exceptionally grating, the mother-in-law was the first to jump up, pointing at Liu Yi's nose and cursing, "Liu Yi, you shameless vixen. You actually cheated on my son. Who knows whose bastard Lale even is?" Liu Yi's face instantly turned deadly pale. She waved her hands in panic. "Mom, it wasn't me. This is fake. It's a trick played by Lin Wan. She used face-swapping technology to destroy our relationship." Chun Kai's face was dark, his eyes full of burning rage. He reached out to Liu Yi and said, "Give me your phone, let me see." Liu Yi gripped her phone tightly, taking a step back, her voice thick with tears. "Brother Kai, don't believe Lin Wan's words. She is just jealous of us. There is nothing real in my phone." The more she acted like this, the more suspicious Chun Kai became. He lunged forward to grab Liu Yi's phone. Liu Yi screamed and resisted, and the two started wrestling. Right at that moment, Chun Lele shouted impatiently, "Stop arguing. You're making my head hurt. I want to play on the phone." The father-in-law was already full of pent-up anger. Hearing Chun Lele say this, he couldn't hold it back anymore. He raised his hand and slapped Chun Lele across the face. You little bastard. How dare you talk back to me? If it weren't for you, would we have ended up in this state today? That slap completely ignited the fuse. Seeing her son being hit, Liu Yi lunged like a madwoman to fight the father-in-law. How dare you hit my son? I'll fight you to the death. The father-in-law was pushed to the ground by Liu Yi and Chun Lele. He clutched his chest, unable to breathe, his face turning purple. Chun Kai struggled to get up, trying to dial the ambulance, but the phone only returned a cannot connect tone. The extreme heat had caused cell towers to malfunction, leaving many areas without network or power. Chun Kai looked at his dying father, then at Liu Yi's fierce face, and the crying Chun Lele. His eyes were filled with absolute despair. He hesitated for a moment, but eventually dragged his father toward the door. Dad, I'll take you to the hospital. There must be a way. The mother-in-law also struggled up to follow them. Wait for me, I'm coming too. But the moment they stepped out the door, the heatwave outside wrapped around them like an invisible net. At over 70 degrees Celsius, the air felt like it was on fire. The mother-in-law became dizzy after just a few steps. She wanted to turn back and hide inside the building, but Liu Yi had firmly locked the unit door from inside. No matter how hard she knocked, or how much she cursed, Liu Yi refused to open it. Exhausted and physically drained, the mother-in-law collapsed on the ground and soon stopped moving. Chun Kai dragged his father, struggling forward for a few dozen meters, but ultimately collapsed by the roadside. He glanced back toward where Liu Yi was, his eyes full of unwillingness and regret. But it was all too late. I turned off the surveillance monitor. A delicious aroma wafted from the kitchen. Today's lunch was slow-cooked duck soup, multi-shrimp-salad, and an ice-cold Coke. I served myself a bowl of soup and sipped it slowly. The savory taste spread across my tongue, driving away all the gloom. The grudges from my previous life, they had already paid for it in their own way. In this life, I just wanted to live well and cherish the life in front of me. The heatwave lasted for a whole year. During this year, my daily life was very disciplined. Waking up in the morning and having breakfast. In the morning, I either tended to the vegetables in the garden or fed the fish by the pond. At noon, I'd have a hearty lunch, followed by a nap. In the afternoon, I would read books, watch movies, or play with Mimi. Occasionally, I'd contact the official rescue stations to stay updated on the situation outside. The solar panels and batteries performed exceptionally well. The air conditioning never stopped. The food in the fridge remained abundant. I had already harvested several batches of vegetables from the garden. I gained 10 pounds. But my skin, thanks to eating fresh fruit and drinking warm water every day, got better and better. My complexion was rosy. I didn't look like someone surviving in the apocalypse at all. One morning, in mid-November, I was woken up by the patter of rain. I rushed into the courtyard. The cold raindrops hit my face, cool and refreshing, carrying the fresh scent of earth. I looked up at the sky. It was covered in dark clouds. The raindrops grew larger. En dévié. I stood in the rain, smiling, and then I began to cry. The pain and despair of my previous life seemed to have been completely washed away by this rain. I reached out my hands to catch the rain, feeling this hard-won coolness. In life, I survived through my own efforts. and earned my own new life.